Okay, so we're going to talk about the grid this morning, and I am in Beaufort, South Carolina at my lovely friend Ifeitayo White's house, and I'm teaching an amazing group of goddesses, and they asked me to record what I said about the grid, so here it is. So when you're doing a session, first you start with prayer. And it can be any prayer. It doesn't have to be the specific prayer that I use, but it's a matter of surrendering to Spirit and asking for help, and just walking into your session in complete surrender. And then you pull out your grid, and you start with the box that says surrender, and we're going top down, left to right. Surrender. Am I in surrender? Yes. And then you go, do I have permission to do this clearing? Yes. What's the first file? And is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Until you get the right number of the file. Let's just say it's file number 5. And then you say, okay, what's the information I need in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, or quadrant 4? You're muscle testing that. Let's just say it's in quadrant 1. And then you ask, okay, is the information on line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, etc. Till you find the right line. And then you go to that file, you look up that piece of information, you read it, and you go tap, tap, tap. Then you come back and you go, okay, am I supposed to look at another file? Yes or no? And if it's yes, you repeat that process. If it's no, then you go down to source and you say, show me the source for this issue. And you go to the source page, you get the quadrant, you get the line, and tap, tap, tap. You only get one source per session. After you've done that, you go to the setup file. And you can have many setups. So you get your setup, your quadrant, and your line, and tap, tap, tap. Is there another setup? Quadrant, line, tap, tap, tap. If it's yes. If it's no, then you go to soul reaction. In soul reaction, you only get one. One source per session, one soul reaction per session. Quadrant and line, tap, tap, tap. And then you break the rule of top down, left to right. You do not go to the left for one more thing. You go straight down to clearing. And you go, show me my first clearing. Quadrant and line, go to the clearing page, do what it says, tap, tap, tap. And then you ask, is there another clearing? And if it's yes, quadrant and line, do what it says, tap, 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 etc., until you go, is there another clearing? And you get the answer, no. If that is the case, then you ask, do I have resolution on this session? If the answer is yes, then you go to processing and you say, well, is there processing? If the answer on resolution was a no, then you go up to one more thing. Notice how I've drawn a little green line that says up. And you go to the file one more thing, you get the quadrant, you get the line, you do what it says, you tap, 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 and you go back to clearings and say, am I now supposed to do another clearing? And if it's yes, you do that. If it's no, then you go, okay, well now do I have resolution? And if it's yes, cool. All right, then you're going to go to the process block. And you ask, okay, is there processing on this clearing that we just did? And if it's no, there's always going to be processing. The body's going to take 21 hours minimum to integrate the work that you've done. So processing no means, okay, overnight, got to sleep on it. Processing yes, you ask, is it days or is it weeks? It's rarely ever going to be months, but it might be, depending on what you're working on. So you get, if it's days, you get how many days, and that's going to be the amount of processing that it's going to take for the body to integrate the work that the soul's already got. All right, and then you move over and tap, 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 and then you move over to the block that says continue. Do we need to do a continue on this session? If it's yes, that means this client needs to come back for another session after the process is complete. And the next session you do, you surrender and ask for help to continue the session that you started previously. And if there's no continue, then you just move on and ask, okay, is there any homework? Homework is for the body to integrate the work of the session. It just helps the body. There's very rarely homework, but there might be. There might be more than one even. So you ask quadrant and line, and you tell that to the client, and they're supposed to do their homework during their processing period. and then tap, tap, tap. And then finally, blessings. And, you know, you pretty much are always going to get at least one. You could get many. And you read them and tap and go back and ask, is there another blessing? Read it and tap, etc. And then the very last thing is you give thanks, gratitude. That's the most important thing in the session. So give thanks to God, your angels, your teachers, your guides. And then make sure that you update all reference points, update all grids. If you don't do that, it means that your client or you, depending on who the session's about, is going to be looking at the world through the same old glasses prescription, not a new prescription that relates to the higher consciousness. So update reference points, updates grids. I always say balance and stabilize your fields, and wrap it up in rainbow light. Just seal yourself in with the love and the light that you deserve. And so that's kind of how to use the grid for an InnerSpeak session. So I hope that's helpful. Love you all. Ciao. It didn't record.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And I hit record on this computer.
And you are amazing.